Hi everybody, welcome to the She Suite. I'm Sarah Carson, founder and CEO here at Leota. Here we are in our gorgeous showroom, and I'm so happy to welcome Lillie Marshall.
Hi, I'm happy to be here.
Lillie is so amazing, and now the whole point of the She Suite is that I bring in women who I really admire, that I get to interact with all the time. I want to bring their advice to you. Now we're live, so please send all your questions and we're going to answer them for you right now. So Lillie is one of the world's leading travel bloggers. She is also a middle school teacher and a mother of two. We're basically in awe of how you do all of this, Lillie. Like, you're amazing. How do you do it?
So I have a number of tips that I'm hoping will be helpful to the audience.
Cool.
So number one is it's actually helpful to have a lot on your plate. Because if you have more than one thing that you're working on, there's something called positive procrastination. So you get sick of working on one thing, you work on your whole other thing. And it actually works pretty well. So you don't want to be grading papers, you do the laundry. You don't want to be doing the laundry, you write an article. You don't want to write an article, you play with your kids. So it's a way to kind of balance everything and keep the excitement.
I love that.
So rather,
brilliant.
Yeah, so rather than paring down, actually adding more can help. Next is,
I love this.
yeah. Next is for people who have partners in their lives, really sitting down and intentionally dividing the tasks that take up a day. So we were actually, our friend recommended to us a marriage coach, just getting right into the nitty gritty of this.
Yes.
But something that he had us do was write down every single thing that needed to be done in the household and then pick and divide them. Wow. So yeah, so at this point now we finally feel like the chores are even, which is a shocking, that was not the case at the beginning of our marriage.
Because they always think that they're really doing 50-50, and then you're like, actually you're not.
And so laying out things actually allowed us to see, oh, there's all this stuff that I do that you didn't realize, and there's all this stuff you do that I didn't realize. And then picking gave us ownership of it. Yeah.
Wow. And so did that help you appreciate what the other person was doing a little bit more too?
Yeah.
That's helpful.
And it helped with the confusion too, because for example, we didn't know, like we knew generally that my husband would wash the dishes in the dishwasher, but we didn't have a specific person to empty them. And so we would just kind of glare at it and be like, oh yeah, lazy spouse, da, da, da. But now that we officially said that's my job, now I know, okay, now I do this. And I'm sharing this because it's like these little things that add up that bring women down.
Yeah.
And I had it, there's a recent book about parenting that came out that said when you're trying to train your kids to do chores, you can say something to them like, can you imagine if one person had to do all this stuff? And the kid's like, what? And that really made me see how much is expected of women, especially on the home front, that like we can't do it all. We cannot do everything that's required in a household, especially with kids. Yeah. And so we need to intentionally divide it. Third.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Third, it clearly says something.
Are you taking notes? Because I am.
Third, religiously carving room for self-care. So fitness is a huge part of that. So wherever you are on the spectrum of fitness love, it's such an essential part to feeling okay as a person. So I think women especially have a lot of guilt, like, well, you know, I should be making lunches instead of working out. But just being like, nope, I'm leaving. It's not a question, I'm going. And getting that in has really helped. That, and then we'll get into this later, but something I love is traveling alone. So continuing to do the things that you love even after you have a partner or kids.
I love that so much. Okay, obviously Lillie has a lot to share with us, so please give us your questions on Facebook Live or Instagram Live. Okay, we have our first question.
Okay, so how do you get your kids involved with your work on your blog and your travels?
So how do you get your kids involved in your work, on your travels, in your blog, around the world, Lillie?
Around the world, L, yeah.
Sorry, around the world.
Yeah, so, well, that's also a question of privacy too, right? So in the beginning when my kids were babies, I involved them heavily because they were always in my pictures. But now I'm trying to have a bit more of a divide, which is easier because I travel solo. But how do I get my kids involved? So one thing I do is I make it okay for me to work on my own. So sometimes my kids are like, I want to play, I want to to do something, which is great. Love playing with my kids, but also making it okay. Like I have my own thing that I do. I write, I create papers, I plan, and they have their things that they do. And there's a lot of guilt for moms, I think, of why are you doing your own thing instead of interacting with your kids all the time. But I like modeling for my daughter especially that that's okay. Getting my kids involved also. My son can sometimes help me edit photos. Like I take thousands of photos at every location I go to.
Yeah.
So sometimes he'll be like, I like that one has too much tree, I don't like that. So he can do that.
Wait, and just to be clear, he's like 4, right?
He's 5,
He's
yeah.
5. Okay, great. It's never too soon to start your kid in the e-commerce career.
That's right, yeah, I have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old now. So I guess that's kind of the extent of how much. And then them sometimes being in pictures, although I'm erring more towards showing the side of their face instead of straight on. Just to make it more like, this is my blog. If they choose to be involved later, then they can. But I want to respect that.
Wow, and so Lillie, you have actually traveled to the White House and met President Barack Obama as one of the most famous, you're famous to me, and to all of your millions of users through your blog around the world now. And what do you attribute that to? Why do you think, I mean, everyone's trying to do a blog. Why is yours so amazing?
Well, mine is so amazing. No, I think really this is a question about starting your own blog or starting your own business. What it comes down to is persistence. And there's so many blogs I've seen. I've been blogging since 2009, so that's what, 9 years?
Like the beginning of the internet.
Yeah. So I have seen so many blogs come and go, which is fine. That's what they had to do, but my key has just been I'm still around. And the key to that is I'm obsessed with it. If I don't write and I don't publish, after 2 weeks, I go crazy. I go completely crazy. I can't deal with life. And so that's what keeps me going. It's more a question of how could you deal with not blogging? Like the answer is I couldn't. I just want to do it. So to people who are either starting their own website or starting their own business, and you read up on the tips, like how you do it, how you be social online and seem to be social. At the end of the day, if you don't love it, it's not going to work. So you've got to pick something that works for you.
Yeah, I totally hear you. Well, by the way, if you're just joining us, I'm Sarah Carson. You're here on the She Suite with my guest, Lillie Marshall, who is a world-famous travel blogger, middle school teacher, mother of 2, and one of my personal heroes. So please give us your questions. We're live on Facebook and Instagram. We'll answer them right now. No question is off the table. We're here to help you. Lillie has already dropped some serious knowledge for us, so we look forward to more. Looks like we have another question.
Okay, how did you decide to start your blog? What inspired you to do that?
So what inspired you to start Around the World LL, your world-famous travel blog?
So I became a public school teacher right out of college. I was 21. I was teaching 12th graders. Didn't work out so well, but I was able to hang in there for 5 years and actually got to be pretty competent as a teacher after 5 years.
Yeah.
But in 2009, I looked around. I realized I had saved a bunch of money because I lived in a house with lots of people. I didn't have a car. I wasn't married. I wasn't dating anyone that I was really interested in. I thought, this is the time. I've got to go. So I took a leave of absence. I bought an around the world plane ticket. It's exciting to buy. And then I took off and traveled for symbolically 9 months because everyone around me was having a baby. And I said, you know what, there's other things that you can do in 9 months, and this is one of them. And during that time, I thought, to keep people abreast of what I'm doing, I'll just write a little something. And I realized I loved it. So I've been an English teacher for 5 years, and I hadn't had the opportunity or the outlet to write myself. And then once I started writing and getting that audience interaction, it was such a high that I didn't want to stop. So I came back to the US in 2010, met my husband, or the man who's now my husband, at my Welcome Back to America party
That's awesome.
that week. And have been able to keep the blog going, because to have a travel blog, you actually don't need to be on the road all the time. It's actually makes it more difficult. I just teach by day, blog by night, travel by vacation.
Wow. Oh, cool. Yeah. I love that. So obviously, Lillie, you are traveling all the time, and a lot of our viewers are traveling all the time too. Business trips, going to see your in-laws, you name it. I mean, maybe, hopefully a vacation in there somewhere, right, guys? Lillie told us we have to do that for ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's so annoying to pack all the stuff. It's just kind of people end up dreading their time away as opposed to looking forward to it. So do you have any ideas on how we can pack well and like basically make it easier and more fun?
Yeah. My basic tip is pack things that are also other things. So my classic thing is black leggings. So black leggings you can wear underdress, you can wear it with a tunic shirt, you can wear it to bed as pajamas, you can wear it to work out, and that automatically cuts your amount of stuff. I would pack only black shoes. I'm not a shoe person, so I like one pair of sandals, one pair of sneakers, one pair of nice shoes, all black, and they go with everything. So just trying to have things that are other things. But I promise Sarah didn't pay me to say this, but it's honestly, my entire suitcase is Leota. I just like, I twirl them up, put them in a ball, they don't wrinkle, and I have been hiking in them multiple times. I do sightseeing in them, I sweat through them, and then they dry off, and I go out at night in them. So I mean, that Leota has been the biggest help in terms of really my overall life. Like I teach in them every day, but also I travel in them. So if you flip through aroundtheworldl.com, it's pretty much 100% me and Leota. And when I don't wear a Leota, the pictures are not as good. So yeah, pack these dresses.
That's an endorsement. Thank you.
It's true.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Lillie. Okay, looks like we have another question.
Okay, so Lillie, you are a Leota influencer MVP, so you would know best. What's your favorite Leota style of all time?
Oh, okay, I have a strong answer to this. I love the Charlotte. I really love. Yeah, so I have a tiered answer to this. So the Charlotte is what I end up teaching in the most, because it's got this knot in the front that is so flattering and elegant. It just my friends have borrowed this dress. It fits every body type. It hides your stomach, which is, we love all body types, but sometimes I don't want my big belly showing if I've just eaten a huge amount. And it just looks classy, even though it's simple and comfortable. Runner-up is Sweetheart. I have so many Sweethearts.
So many Sweethearts. You look so cute in those. Like all of your photos, one thing I love about the photos that you take is that they're just so strong and you're so free with your body. I think a lot of times women in photos we're just taught to be like, or like make ourselves smaller, and you do the opposite, and I think that is so badass.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's the Sweetheart.
Right, so the thing I like about the Sweetheart is that it's really unique, and it's got this layered bodice. I love the flutter sleeve Sweetheart most of all, because it's got that extra piece up here. But it's so flattering because because it's thicker on the top, it kind of covers, but it also is very feminine with that V-neck and the Sweetheart neck. It really shows this area, which I think this is one of the sexiest areas on a woman. And a lot of Leotas show this area. It's just a nice cinching. It's not the waist. It's like the right under chest area, if you will.
Okay.
And then it flares out. And it comes in so many different prints, and it's machine washable. So that's my second favorite.
Love that.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm so glad you feel good in that silhouette. Our design ethos is like, if you can't think of a million ways to wear a product, it's definitely not going to make it into the line. It's got to be versatile. You've got to be able to do anything in it. Otherwise, those shop at Zara or H&M or something like that. Like, if you want something that's going to make your life easier, it's going to be super easy to take care of, and you're going to feel amazing in, then work for you. For you.
Yeah, thank you.
So if you're just joining us, welcome to the She Suite. I'm Sarah Carson, founder and CEO of Leota. And here we have Lillie Marshall with us, who is a world famous travel blogger, middle school teacher, mother of two, and inspiration to me and probably now all of our viewers. So send us your questions. Lillie is answering them live. She has packed just about everything in life. So let's learn from her. Okay, next question.
Okay, so Lillie, what was your make it work moment when you were, when you were starting your blog and maybe somewhere along the way? What was your make it work moment?
Make it work moment.
Does that mean fixing it if things go wrong? What does that mean?
It's kind of like when you had to, you faced an issue and how you dealt with it, and maybe you came out the other side better than ever.
Okay.
Because you make it look really, really freaking easy to have a world famous travel blog around the world out.
Okay. So I think the big turning point for me, when I first started my blog in 2009, I didn't really get that people would read it. And so I had some kind of scandalous tell-alls And I didn't think they would be found. And one of the people who one of them was about contacted me, and because I had met him on my travels, and he was like, I didn't realize you were going to write an article about me. How dare you? Da, 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 da. And so I realized it's valid. You want to be respectful of people. So I ended up going back and editing it, which is the nice thing about writing online. You can change it. And ever since then, I've always, I guess the make it work piece is just always have a very keen eye towards what the audience is and how things will be perceived. So my brand is positivity. Like I'm a public school teacher. I see a lot of intense things every day. And so I want my site to be a place that's positive for people, a place where you see the beauty and the learning and the color of the world. And so as such, I don't write negative articles anymore. And people say, well, can you still be honest? And I 100% still can be honest. I can give tips like, this is not a match. This hotel is not a match for someone who wants X, Y, Z. But for example, a few years ago, I wrote about a city that I didn't like, and I still get hate mail. And I still to this day get hate mail, and it's just not a good feeling. I don't want to put that negativity into the world because different things are a match for different people. And so the way that I want to make it work is to keep focusing on the positive.
Wow, I think that's really inspirational, and I bet really challenging. I mean, especially in this kind of political environment where I personally feel a responsibility to speak up for what's right for women, for minorities, for immigrants, and finding the appropriate way to do that doesn't come across as negative, I think it's hard.
Yeah, and you really hit on something big that is, as a white woman and white women have been responsible for a lot of things that have been happening, that how can we be activists in a way that is effective and that works for our lives. So we're getting into intense things here, and what I can share is I do work on the day-to-day basis offline. And so my choice is I keep that piece offline, but I work at that every day.
So one thing you mentioned when we first started the session was the importance of doing things for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I know, I've read on Around the World, Elle, that a lot of times you don't travel with your kids, and that you really believe in women's right to go do things for themselves. And it's tough. I mean, for me, for our viewers, we're pulled in so many different directions, whether it's work, spouse, parents, in-laws, community, kids, school. What about your own career? What about your own pleasure? I mean, how do you tell me more about that?
Mm-hmm. Well, as you mentioned, though I have kids, I'm not necessarily a family travel blogger. From my recent experience, I prefer to travel alone or with my spouse. Traveling with kids has not been a match for our recent, it usually involves a lot of vomit, I'm going to be honest. Every single time we travel with kids, it's a lot of vomit. And so that I think I just want it to be open to women that it's possible, even if you're married, even if you have kids, solo travel is possible, and it's possible also to travel just with your partner, and it's really important too.
Tell me about solo travel. I've always aspired to be a solo traveler. I'm not sure I'm cool enough yet, but tell us about that.
Well, it's a different match for different people. And for me, what I just love is the feeling of being on a train or plane alone and just seeing the world go by, and you're moving, you're in movement, and you're on your own. Because when I'm with other people, I work in a helping profession, so I'm always thinking, what are they thinking? What do they need? But when I'm on my own, it's just my own thoughts. I don't hear anyone else's thoughts. And when I get to a new place, I like just wandering, just completely wandering. And that's harder to do when you're with other people. Where are we going? What are we doing? So that's something that I love, and it's not for everyone, but it's something I love.
Okay, we have another question for Lillie Marshall.
Okay, so this is a good one. Best place to travel alone and best place to travel with your kids.
Ooh.
Okay, so I'm working right now on an article about solo travel when you have kids. So the basic thesis is going to be the destination actually doesn't matter. It's just got to be somewhere that works for you logistically with your family. And so usually that means a direct flight. So there's a bunch of places you can look online to find discount flights anywhere. So for example, Google Flights has this, Kayak has this, where in your destination you just put everywhere. And then it'll just say you can get for $100 to Denver, Colorado. For $50 you can get to Minneapolis. And so I had a bit of a breakdown last June, just so much cooking, so much cleaning, and I just went on and I bought 3 really cheap plane tickets to random places. So in summary, wherever works for you, it actually doesn't matter at all. Every place is cool. I'm really into the small towns right now that people don't think about as much. Just buy a plane ticket. With kids, we had a really good experience in Ireland. There was vomit involved, but we had a good experience. Sorry. And we had, this was before the hurricane, but we had a great experience in Puerto Rico with kids also. Yeah, and Florida would be a closer version of that. Florida is really kid-friendly because there's a lot of the older generation, so there's a lot of paved areas for both wheelchairs and strollers.
Great tip. Things I would not have thought about. That's so awesome. We're here on the She Suite. I'm Sarah Carson, and my guest, Lillie Marshall, is an incredible travel blogger. She has one of the most famous travel blogs in the world. It's called Around the World L. And she actually met President Barack Obama as one of these top travel bloggers. So she's really the person to ask about anything having to do with travel, having to balance 8 million things, family, kids, career. She's also a teacher. You have a lot of giving on your plate. So send us your questions live. So Lillie.
There's another question here too.
Oh, sorry, one more question.
Okay, what would be your golden ticket advice for anyone starting a blog, or maybe they already established their blog? Any advice for all the bloggers out there?
Well, I've already given the one tip for blogging would be persistence. You've got it's just people spend so much time being like, is this layout good? Is this layout good?
Yeah.
And then they write one article and then they quit. So when I started, my blog looked completely different. It was a mess. It was on blogger.com. Now it's on WordPress, but it evolves, and you can evolve with it as long as you have the content. You need to have the articles first, or the pictures first, whatever you're doing. But the second tip I give is Google has all sorts of ways that it works to rank sites. And one thing that helps a site is if it's linked to other sites. So being a guest blogger on other sites can sometimes be really helpful. And so if there are people hearing this who are starting out who are interested in their own blog and building their following, they can reach out to other bloggers and say, hey, would you be interested in doing an interview with me, or me giving a guest article? I'm looking to grow my following. And sometimes you can find a place that is interested.
Wow. And so you don't have any staff working with you on Around the World Out?
No.
That's amazing. Wow, that's so inspiring. It reminds me of your first tip to us, which was to have too much on your plate, and how that can actually be inspiring you to complete even more. Yeah, I love that. Any other questions from the audience?
Yeah, I have a good one here. How would you define success, especially in blogging, which can be kind of competitive and maybe even a little abstract in their successes?
So what is success? I mean, we're all trying for it, but...
It's really whatever works for you. I mean, it's the obvious answer, right? But I think there's kind of a sweet spot middle ground between being huge and being unknown. Because in this climate, especially online, if you get too big, things start getting nasty. And I mean, I think I've thought about this a lot in a gendered way, that I sense myself limiting myself sometimes because I see that ceiling of, if you get so big, you start getting more hate comments. And I don't know if you've seen this in the fashion world, but it's both smart and self-preserving, and also self-limiting and concerning.
Well, I've noticed, and I've read articles about how women are getting a lot more. They're getting horrible
things,
horrible hate comments having to do with their bodies, their sexuality, death threats. I mean, it's truly disgusting. So is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah, I run in blogger circles, and I can see the whole spectrum of when you hit a certain point of popularity in blogging or any world, there starts to be all this nastiness. So I guess I'm putting this out here. I don't want people to run away, but I just want to bring up that for women especially, there's a ceiling, not in terms of what you're allowed to do, but in terms of where things start getting maybe emotionally scarier.
Mm-hmm. And is that worth it or not worth it?
I think it's different for different people. For me, because I'm a full-time teacher, that I find that is the core of my fulfillment, along with my family, and then the writing. As long as I have, you ask for success. For me, it's that an article reaches 1,000 reads. It's just like, I used to be a high jumper, so the bar for that was 5.4, and once I went over 5.4 in a meet, I was happy. With an article, if I reach 1,000 reads, that's a nice setting. So it's really different for different people. It's their context.
Yeah. But it sounds like you do set like specific targets for yourself with everything that you do.
I do.
And so you always have something you're shooting for, as opposed to just like being out there.
Definitely. Yeah, and that helps, because if you don't do that, then you're just like, am I successful? Have I done it? But if you have an attainable goal, you can see the action steps to get there.
I love that. And also, it's just like, it doesn't all get done at once. Like,
Yeah.
It takes time and it takes patience, like you said. Well, actually, I take that back. I did not mean it takes patience. Okay, do not be patient if you want to achieve anything, because good things do not come to those who are patient. Good things come to those who go out and get it, right?
Yeah.
So, Lillie, where can we find more information about all your travels and more advice from you?
So my main site is aroundtheworldl.com. That's about my own travels, with kind of the twist of arts and learning. And then teachingtraveling.com is where I feature teacher travelers. So if there's anyone watching this who somehow combines education and travel, you don't have to be a classroom teacher. I'm so happy to feature you. And this can be, if you're starting a blog, a nice way for people to get out there, and also give tips to other teacher travelers. On social media, I'm at World Lillie, Lillie, and I'd love to connect with people who've seen this.
Well, I'm sure you can see why I had Lillie on the She Suite. Please just keep going and doing all these good things and really sharing with women like how we can do this too. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thanks.
See you next time.
Bye.